From Community Park in Tinley Park, Illinois, 2021 SSA Kickoff Classic, sponsored by Guaranteed Rate, Affinity, and Matt Dozen. Beautiful complex out here on the far southwest side, suburbs, I should say, the city of Chicago. And my partner and mentor, George Bliss, was doing some of the live streaming earlier. Sorry we didn't live stream more, but we had a little rain that didn't really clear out of here until close to 1 p.m. We're down to 4 teams. This is a consolation bracket tournament. So these are the teams in the so-called winner's bracket of this event. On the other diamond, we have the consolation bracket. Those are the teams that have lost the game, but with the two-game guarantee, they still got an opportunity to play for and win a little cash. And on the other diamond, we got High Y, formerly the Young Guns, playing Tito's 45s. So this is Chicago 16-inch style softball, 260 all around in the outfield. And some of you that follow the SSA will remember these two teams were in the winner bracket championship game of the 2020 SSA Men's Major National Championship Tournament out in Highland, Indiana last year. And Signature snuck past Rack City. And then at that point, Tito's 45s eliminated Rack City and came back, and Signature just absolutely played a magnificent game against Tito's 45s and won the Major National Championship Tournament last year. So a couple of good ball clubs. This is how Signature is going to go. Mark Minizzi at second base. Pichatelli playing shortstop. Brian Davis at third. Anthony Scarletto at first. Rob Grisano pitching. Larry Downs catching. Matt Minizzi in right field. Kevin in center. And Mike Crowley in left. Rack City will go with Little B in left. T-Rex in center. Bird is the extra hitter. Davi playing first. Chris at short center. Justin at shortstop, Jake at second, BJ at third, JT catching and smooth pitching with Little Dave in right field. So those are your lineups for this ball game. Again, this is 16-inch style Chicago softball. Again, we play without the gloves out here. Going to zoom in a little bit. We'll have a little tighter picture today. Again, most of you know I like to be on the first base side, but I got the sun to my back, and it does affect the camera when we're looking into the sun. So we're going to be just underway here. Turned out to be a very nice day despite the rain. Tournament started at 9:30, and we took a little extra time to let the teams hit a little bit because with the dampness, first time out of the gate outside, we didn't want teams or players getting injured. So it's been a pretty good day, some pretty good softball. These two teams have been hands down the two best teams all day. And we fully expect both of these teams to be in the mix most of the summer. So Rack City just going through some of their pregame routine here. Rack City lost a few guys from last year's team, but they've done a good job of filling it in. And, of course, the big news was Brian Blackwell Jr., Little B, coming back to Rack City after a few years with Tito's 45s. And Little B, as they call him, is just a lot of fun to watch. Tremendous player, one of the fastest guys in 16-inch softball. High motor, and really an impact player. So that'll be a treat for all of you guys to watch a little bit later on. So we're going to be out during the week with the game of the week. We got some leagues starting this Monday, and it's supposed to be good weather Monday and Tuesday. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s. A little chilly out. Not so bad if you're playing, though. So here's Mark, and he lines it right at the shortstop who makes the catch. So he bobbled it a little bit, but he held on. So nice play there by the shortstop, Justin, to secure it as Minizzi smoked it the other way. Here comes Piscitelli. We call him Pish. Another guy who's just a terrific athlete. And he smokes the ball fair down the line. Pish takes the turn, but he'll stop at first. Little B got it in a hurry. That's the thing about Little B. He's so quick out there. For a lot of left fielders, that's going to turn into a double. But he's so quick and gets such good jumps that he can get to it and get it in. And here's Brian Davis. And Brian tries to go the other way, and that ball is going to drop. So Little B looked like he had him shaded a little bit toward left center. Of course, Brian is a kid who can hit the ball really anywhere on the field. His dad, Red Davis, coaching at first. And his brother, Eric Davis, who's also a tremendous left fielder, is not here today. Again, first time out. And Brian swings and he gasses one into an alley, and T-Rex jogs over and makes it look easy. No tag on the play. You see Pish was being aggressive. He ran all the way to second base and stopped just short of it. So if that ball would have made it into the gap, he would have scored easily on it. But a real nice job by T-Rex. And T-Rex is a little bit bigger than the average center fielder. Here's Anthony Scarletto, the first baseman. And he's what I call a long strider. He's a big kid. He's tall, but he's not lanky. And there's a line drive in right at Little B, and that'll be the third out of the inning. So at the end of a half inning, no runs. So you can see T-Rex running in. He looks more like a linebacker than he does a center fielder, but he's what I call a long strider. He chews up a lot of ground. So we're going to head now to the bottom of the first, no score. And in these games, it's always big when a couple of big dogs are hammering away at each other for 7. You don't want to go dry too often in a ball game like this. So at the end of half an inning, no score. Here's Charlie Talbert. Again, the live stream sponsored by Napleton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We used to say at River Oaks. I believe they're changing it to at Lansing, even though they have not moved. Call Ray Zarnick if you need a car. And, of course, our sponsor for the event today was Guaranteed Rate Affinity and Matt Dozen. So if you need a mortgage, give Matty a call. Matt, a terrific guy, has gotten very involved with the SSA and 16 in softball. He was always involved because his family are softball lifers, but he's in a position now where he wants to give back to the game, and he's done a tremendous job today with this event. We've had big crowds all day, considering the rain and the weather. Still a lot of people here to watch these championship games. And Little B swings. It didn't sound good. It almost sounded like he hit it off the end of the bat, but it found a soft landing spot. Leadoff man on. And, of course, it don't take much to score that guy at first base. And here comes T-Rex, who made that nice running catch in right center that looked like it was going to be problems. So Little B will definitely push the envelope on the bases. When he first started playing at the major level, he was one of those guys that when he took a turn at second, if you tried to throw behind him, he'd just keep going. And T-Rex swings and hits a little flare. Crowley will throw it into second. You see, very aggressive turn. So when you're playing and this guy here is on the bases, you've got to make a hard, firm throw in, and you got to handle it or he's just going to keep motoring on you. So first two guys on, first and third, and it brings up Bird. So this is the first time we've seen some of the teams with the changes. Now, this is not the final roster that people will give us, but everybody was kind of on their scout's honor that they wouldn't load up with other players. And there's a little chop. They'll get to Force, no double play, but her first one of the ball game scores. So that was a good job. Minizzi, the second baseman, let Rusty know that they had the force out. Bird who can fly. If you hesitate there, you might end up getting nothing. And here's Davi. 1-0 Rack City, bottom of the first. Runner on, one out. And this kid Davi pounds the ball. I don't know if I trust this guy to knock down a screamer hit this way. Again, we're normally on the first base side. You can see the long shadows. So there's a walk. We are playing 1-1 count and bring up Chris Rogers. Playing short center today. Played a lot of shortstop for these Rack City in years past, but today's at short center. There's a ground ball. Takes the short center to the bag, double play. So, again, that's not where you want to hit the ball there, and Chris knows he made a mistake. Looks like he's kind of talking and muttering. So after first and third and nobody out, Rack City only scores one. I think if you're Signature, you look at that and you say you got off cheap. So we're going to head to the top of the second. Looks like the pitcher, Rob Grisano, is going to lead off. And Robbie just started pitching few years ago. He's come a long way. Sean Keane had a family matter he had to take care of. So he had to leave, but Robbie has turned into a competent backup pitcher, and he always could hit. So it'll be Robbie, Larry, and Rusty coming up for your signature if you are a fan. So early in the year, we do see, and Robbie swings and he hits a little cut, Little B on the run. Shortstop, Justin, gets out there and makes a nice running catch. And Little B, again, now Justin was not their shortstop last year, and Little B wasn't their left fielder. So sometimes when you got new players, the communication takes a little while there. And so here comes Larry Downs. He's in the Hall of Fame. This guy's played on a lot of terrific teams in his career. And he pounds the ball, base hit. And then when Larry is playing like that, I think if you watch the 50 and over telecast in the Dome League Championship that the SSA runs out there, he got his COVID shot, and it really affected him, and he struggled through a game. And here's Russ, So one out, one on here. Signature tries to fire back. Line drive, it gets through. And Larry Downs, who still runs well, he's in no man's land there. Looked like it was going to be a catch, so you got a freeze on it. And by the time the ball hit the carpet, too late for him to get to second base there. So it was a good hard line drive. Nice job by the third baseman getting a couple of mitts on it. And it brings up Mark Minizzi, the right fielder. Of course, his brother playing second base and hit that bullet to start the game, but Little B jogged over and caught it. So it's been a strange day. There's a hard ground ball up the middle. Second baseman handles it, little pitch and catch. So we're going to head to the top of the second, still 1-0 Rack City. Signature has been scoring a lot of runs today. So we'll see what happens. Now, a few years ago, Rack City had a tremendous outfield. And their problem back then was their infield play was a little shaky. And now with Little B, T-Rex, and Little Dave, they've got a very good outfield. All three of them capable of swinging the bats, very fast, and their infield play has improved almost every year dramatically. So they're going to be around. They're going to make it late into tournaments. This is no fluke on their part. despite the individuals that they lost, they still got a good, solid ball club. And there's a little swing, a little cut, and Mike Crowley won't get there. So Justin, the shortstop, I didn't recognize him right away because when he's in the field, he's got a kind of like a little hood on. But if the number is correct, that was Justin. And here comes Jake, the second baseman. Okay, that was BJ who led off with the hit. My bad. I was looking at the wrong spot here. And this is the catcher, JT. And there's a swing and a fly ball. Kevin Barzowski makes the catch, and he throws it in. Good hard throw. Again, you got to be aware of who you're playing and who's on base if you're in the outfield. Because if you start lobbing the ball in there, you do run into problems. And this looks like a pinch hitter for the pitcher, Smooth. I believe it's Jacob taking a swing. Hit a big home run against the Shooters, who were kind of the surprise team in the tournament down the right field line. That the right fielder, Anthony Scarletto climbs the ladder, steals a hit, and steps on the bag for the double play. So Signature in the first 2 innings has turned 2 double plays, and they keep the score at 1-0. Rack City leading, heading to the top of the third. Again, we're playing underhand softball, but defense is very, very big. And most of the really top scores, Chris, it's 1-0 Rack City. We're heading to the top of the third with Signature coming up. So Signature playing a little defense, keeping the score at 1-0. And it'll be Kevin Barzowski and Mike Crowley, and then Mark Minizzi in the top of the lineup here. So this game is chugging right along as we're already in the third inning. And sometimes after a long day, you appreciate that when you're involved in the running of an event. And we're going to be mentioning some of our sponsors shortly. Of course, we already talked about Matt Dozen and Guaranteed Rate. And, of course, Napleton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram at Lansing. And KB pounds it up the middle. Little fumble there. He throws it over, and they get the out. So here comes Mike Crowley. And I talked a little bit with Kelly Patton, who helps run the Rack City team along with Charlie Talbert. And I was discussing with them the fact that in the last few years, Rack City has played Signature about as tough and as good as anybody in 16-inch softball. It just seems like every time these two teams lock up, it's a dogfight. You know, sometimes even if you're a major team or a team like Signature, if you know a team is going to battle you, they don't quite free swing. And Crowley throws a nice polite humpback for a base hit. So 1 out, 1 on. And here comes the top of the Signature lineup. Again, we talked about when Kevin Duff left and a couple of the Signature guys left. Mark and Matt Minizzi, Joe Pish, Sean Keane were some of the guys that came in. And there's a sky-high pop-up. So you had a couple of Rack City guys way up the foul line, and it looked like they may have bothered the Rack City guy who was going after the ball. So looked almost, Mark doesn't really try to dip and drive a lot, and it looked like he was trying to juice the ball there, and front shoulder flew open and he popped out. And he tries to go deep again. Little Dave makes the catch and he fires it in. You can see these teams ain't fooling around. Their outfield is catching it and getting it in hard. Here comes Joe Pish. We've seen a couple of balls leave the premises today, but between the rain and the cooler, heavier air, it hasn't really gone as far as they would in a normal, warmer day. Again, 1-1 count. And Pish hits a missile. Shortstop Justin, long throw, nips him by half a clip. So Justin's fumbled a couple of balls. One line drive he secured. That time he had to pick it up off the carpet. The ball came right back up to him, and he showed a very strong arm. And we're going to head to the bottom of the third, still 1-0 Rack City. And having managed Flashback for a few years, I can tell you we had about as good an offense as there was in softball at that time. There were probably 5, 6, 7 Hall of Famers on that team. And every once in a while, we'd play a team that hung in there with us, or we'd get into maybe a cooler day, and all of a sudden we'd be in a dogfight, and the things that you normally see your group do, all of a sudden they don't do. Now, Rack City so far has played clean, and they're not giving Signature any type of openings, and that's very, very important. So here's the third baseman, BJ. So I'm all screwed up on my lineup, folks. So if you're a Rack City fan, I apologize. But this is the third baseman, BJ. And he hits a missile right at Brian Davis. Did the old volleyball trick, just kind of set himself. Popped. I tried to do that once. I think I dislocated a couple of fingers. So this is the pitcher Smooth. So last half inning, I was a little incorrect, folks. So far, we're seeing good defense on both teams. And there's a fly ball, and he beat Crowley. They were really cheating him. And Smooth just hits a fly ball and is going to lumber into second base. Signature caught a break. You can see Smooth is a bigger guy, and he's an older guy. Doesn't really run that well. And as a result of that, it was only a double. Some of the other Jackrabbits that Rack City's got on their team, that might have been a triple and maybe even a home run. So here comes Little Dave with Little B on deck. So Little 2-out rally here. Runner on second with Little Dave trying to extend this lead. And Little Dave been swinging it good today, but a little bobble, but Minizzi recovers. Okay, well, I missed an out apparently. But the third baseman did get to third on that infield out, and here's Little B. Now, Little B puts so much pressure on you because he can scoot. So you bobble the ball with this kid, you got no chance. Jockeying a little bit with, and he slaps it right at Pish. You can see Joe Pish was right in the baseline there. First time up, they played him a little deeper. So respecting that speed factor, he was playing him very tight. Nice play by Joe Pish. He had a bobble, but the ball was hit like a rocket. And as a result of that, he had plenty of time to recover. So we're going to go top of the fourth. Runs tough to come by in this 2021 SSA Kickoff Classic, sponsored by Guaranteed Rate Affinity and Matt Dozen championship game of the winner's bracket. Leading off is going to be Brian Davis. He tried to juice the ball into right center his last time, and T-Rex got out there and made a fine running catch. Both teams are actually stinging the ball pretty good, but their defenses have been impeccable so far, and as a result of that, they're not giving anybody extra outs, and neither team has been able to string some consistent hits together. Rack City has hit into 2 double plays. But here's Brian Davis now. It'll be Brian Davis, Anthony Scarletto, and Robbie Grassano. And Brian swings. This time it's a floater. Little B all over it for the first out. So it's been a long day because even though we had rain, it wasn't a hard rain, and the infield is in great condition. This is a nice surface out here. And so some of these teams have been out here since 9:30. And Scar juices a ball. T-Rex going back on a little back pedal, makes the belly catch. 2 outs. So again, we talked about the fact that the ball isn't really jumping. And, you know, it's been a weird day. It was cool and damp. It was cool and damp this morning. Then it warmed up a little bit. We had a couple of peaks of sunshine. And now with the cloud cover having dissipated and the sun going down, it's starting to get a little chilly out here. Rob Grassano takes that as a ball. And he hits a little cut, and you couldn't throw it out there any better. And they tried to throw to first. Rob was kind of admiring his handiwork. And Little B took a shot, but he got there easy. So here comes Larry Downs. Larry smoked a single into, I want to say right center, but it was more center than right center. And he swings and he hammers it fair down the line. Here comes Scarletto, and they're going to hold him first and third. So the first real offensive opportunity here for Signature. So little 2-out rally here with Rob Grassano, Larry Downs coming through, and here's Rusty, chance to tie or put Signature ahead. Here we are in the top of the 4th, and they're sitting on a goose egg. And he smokes the ball, third baseman, great hands, throw across in time. Nice job by the third baseman there, BJ. That ball was actually past him, and he reached over and snagged it and made a perfect throw to first. So Signature, I tell you, they're hitting the ball hard, but Rack City just refusing to bend on defense. So we're going to head bottom of the 4th. We still got a 1-0 game. Rack City scratched in the first, and they've been clinging to that lead ever since. So again, I talk all the time, having managed a ton of games in my life and being a player, that every game takes on its own personality. And if you try to manage a game like an assembly line or a cookie cutter, you get yourself into trouble. And so a lot of times you need to recognize what's going on and make some adjustments, because, you know, this is a perfect example now. Nobody's scoring. So if you can get a base runner on, nobody out or whatever, you want to make sure you're doing the right thing, moving guys and scoring runs that you need to score. Most of the time in 16-inch softball, T-Rex leading off, Bird on deck, and then Davi. Most of the time out here, guys are free swinging most of the time because, you know, runs are a little easier and everybody's trying to blow up a big inning. But in a game like this, when you're halfway through and there's been one run, you got to recognize that, and your team's got to adapt to it at times. And T-Rex smokes it to center. KB makes the catch. And again, that play was a little tougher than you might have thought. That ball had a little mustard on it. It was scorched. And here comes Bird. Now, when Bird is right, he can cut it and throw it over an infield, but he's also got a lot of pop, even though he's a very fast, slender-looking guy. And again, this is not like 12-inch. We use heavier bats. So if you're using a top-of-the-scale 38-ounce end-loaded bat and you got good hips and fast hands, even little guys can generate. And there he's going to try to slap and run. Rusty picks it up. Another nice pickup by Scarletto. Now, Anthony Scarletto, who played with Impact, was one of the better all-around third basemen. He's won a batting title at an SSA Major National Championship Tournament out in Wheeling a few years ago. And Signature lost their first baseman, and they decided to try it. And David hits a humpback, and Crowley can't get to it. It's going to roll to the fence. David is chucking, and they're gonna hold him up. So David almost head first slid out of his shorts. And that's you got to talk to David later on, because you love the effort and the head first dive, but the coach was telling him to hold the bag. And the better thing to do there as a runner, because you don't know if somebody's going to fumble the ball, turn around and fire it home wild. Here's Chris Rogers. So what you want to do is you want your guy to turn and look. You want him to hit the bag and immediately rotate toward the field and to see where the throw is at. Now, back in the day, Anthony Lococo played on flashback, would throw behind you. And that ball almost into our living room. See, we got fans sitting around the field. It's good to be back outside. And we encourage you, if you get an opportunity, it seems like just about every state has got more vaccine than they know what to do with. Go out and get the shot so you can get back to normalcy. So here's Chris Rogers now, 2 strikes. And he hits a high pop-up. And that's going to be the third out of the inning. So in the inning, they did not score. And we head to the 5th, 1-0. I'm chuckling because with these two teams, you don't expect to be in the top of the 5th, 1-0. And now as the sun continues to set, they're starting to turn the lights on. But it's getting a little chilly. So, of course, we are live from Community Park in Tinley Park. Live stream sponsored by Napleton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram at Lansing. And, of course, the overall tournament by Matt Dozen and Guaranteed Rate Affinity. If you need a mortgage, call Matt. You need a car, call Ray. So Matt Minizzi going to lead off here in this 1-0 defensive struggle so far. Of course, some of our other sponsors we'll get to after this hitter. And he swings and he hits a high fly ball. Little B got a little turned around, but he made the catch. Of course, some of our other fine sponsors, Let Us Entertain You Restaurants. Tito's Handmade Vodka, please drink responsibly. Gold Rush Gaming, and we'll have more about them as the season progresses. Please gamble responsibly. If you got a bar or restaurant, you're getting slots, your contract's up, please reach out to Gold Rush and tell them you heard about them on the SSA. The Beacon Tap, Iron Horse Security, of course, Signature Transportation Group, Bernie's Tap and Grill, Accurate Concrete, RH Home Improvement, Proline Door Services, Seal Right Asphalt. And there's a ground ball, and it's going to sneak through for KB. 1 out base runner for Signature. Room for Kids, McGaffrey Saloon, Lawler's Bar, and Reed Plumbing. And we picked up a couple of more, including some other sponsors will be putting on the call sheet, as they say. And Crowley swings and hits a spinner. He can't. Oh, and he made the play. And oh, this is going to be interesting. So that was an interesting call. See, now the umpires are going to talk because this is what happened. Chris Rogers did bobble that ball a little bit. And the first base umpire with the runner on first rotates toward right center. And a lot of times on a play like that, you're looking through a base runner in the back of the short center. So Carlos wanted to make sure he saw it right. And he asked for help immediately. And Joe Manza apparently didn't see enough to overturn him. And now Pat Caputo is going to go out and discuss the call. Chris did bobble the ball. The question there is, did he secure it before the runner? And Pat is apparently okay with the explanation. So that's a tough play because the ball was hit high enough that KB kind of had to make sure the third baseman wasn't going to get there. And it was a good job by the third baseman in securing it, and the throw was a little low. Some of the signature guys are kind of saying the second base umpire couldn't see it, but he went home, and Joe is saying it looked like he secured the ball. That's what Joe is saying. And you got to understand, Joe Manza is behind the plate, is behind the base. And so everybody's wound up, and the umpire's doing the right thing. They made the call. They asked for help. They conferred. And, you know, at some point you have to just let it go and move on. And really, most of the yelling is coming from some signature fans that are upset. So runner on first. And here comes the top of the lineup with Mark Minizzi. So, again, we're seeing good defense. Chris did at one point, and he tries to pull too, which little Dave makes the catch. That's not really Mark's game. He tried to go the other way the first inning and hit the ball hard. Now, as he's tried to pull a couple of times, he hasn't really hit the ball quite as hard. So he's kind of forcing that pull swing. And we're going to head to the bottom of the fifth, still 1-0 Rack City. And, you know, Signature's got a legitimate question in the sense that it was obvious that the throw was low and Chris Rogers was kind of laying out. And the ball, I don't even know if it made it there on a fly. It happened so quick, and it did look like there was a bobble. And, you know, they need to go and get the game moving, and that's what Joe Manza did. He's one of our best officials. And Carlos Castleberry, also a terrific umpire. And as Anthony Tyler, one of our board members, would say, the fact that these teams are passionate tells you how much the SSA means to them. So here's Justin. Again, 1-0, a surprisingly low score, even on a cool day. I mean, I'm stationary doing the live stream, so I'm chilly, but as a player, when you're moving around and running around, it's not really that bad out. We don't really have a lot of wind. What wind we do have seems to be blowing out toward right. And Minizzi looked like he was in trouble there for a second, but he recovered and made the play.
Hey, that's one! Let's go! What?
I think I got a defective lineup card by Rack City here. I think they might have, and there's a swing and a fly ball. Minizzi's there. I think they may have given me a lineup card that had BJ and Jake flip-flopped. And I think that's why I've been getting a little confused here. Well, actually, I think JT is in Jake's spot. BJ is where he should be, and Jake is actually 2 slots down. And there's a ball that's our first bobble of the game, back to the mound, and Rob Grisano can't make the play. So here comes the third baseman, BJ. So in games like this, it's tough. Jake is not a spring chicken anymore, but I wouldn't call him slow. He still moves pretty good at first. If BJ gets that long stretch single, he might score. Over the pitch, almost lifted that skirt a little soon, but of course Joe, a big strong guy, got good strong hands, was able to secure it. So we're going to go now to the top of the 6th in a 1-0 game. Can Rec City make this solo run they got in the first inning stand up? And you got to remember, in the first inning, Rec City was threatening to get more, but they hit into a double play. So it's going to be Joe Piscitelli, Brian Davis, and Anthony Scarletto. So we're here in the top of the 6th. No guarantee you're going to get back to that part of your lineup. And this is kind of like hockey. Your stars got to be stars. Yeah, I agree with you. This is the first time I've really seen this kid, but I tell you, he's got good hands, got a good arm. I don't know where Rec City found him, but he looks like he's got the potential to be a really good ball player. And again, I talk all the time about the fact that there's so many really good. And Pish tries to go to the line. Little Dave got a beat on it, jumps up and makes the catch. That ball didn't want to come down. We told you there was a little bit of a breeze, and it is pushing out. It looks like almost to dead right field. Little didn't quite barrel up on it, but gave it a decent ride. And here comes Brian Davis. And you know, that's part of the problem. You get these guys that can really pound the ball, and sometimes in games like this, you have that tendency to try to do a little bit more, to hit that home run, to tie the game up, instead of just stringing base hits together and moving runners. And trust me, when I managed, there were times when I was begging my guys to just go for a base hit, get a runner, move the runner in games like this. And sometimes teams just vapor lock. And I can't tell you the last time Signature got shut out in a game. I mean, it never happens. And Davis strokes, and nothing Little B could do on that. And again, Brian Davis got power to all fields. So there's only so much you can do. And he took a lot off of his swing and just flipped it out there. Now here's Scarletto. This kid usually is swinging hard every time up. He don't get cheated. You can see the runner at first. So this turned into, even though there's no runs, it's turned into a pretty exciting ball game. And Scarletto draws a walk in a 1-0 game. That drives you nuts as a manager. And here comes Grisano. I apologize if the camera's shaking, but I'm getting a little cold. And Grisano just taps it out there, and Little B on his horse makes the catch. Terrific terrific jump by Little B because Rob Grisano can launch, and he saw Robbie raise his hands, and he was on the dead sprint. Here's Larry Downs. You know, last year they had Downs and they had Angelo Alicia, two older guys who are Hall of Famers, and they had such a huge impact on the team. And Downs smokes it, but right at Jake, and that's going to be the third out. So Mini Threat goes by the board. That's 2 innings in a row. Signature's left a couple of guys on base, and we're going to head bottom of the 6th, 1-0, Rack City. Again, we are live from Tinley Park, Illinois, at Community Park for the 2021 SSA Kickoff Classic, sponsored by Guaranteed Rate Affinity and Matt Dozen. And, of course, as always, the live stream sponsored by Napleton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram at Lansing. I know that's different. You guys are used to hearing me say at River Oaks, but I think they wanted to throw the Lansing in because there are so many different Napleton stores. They wanted you to know which one. And, you know, folks, I say this all the time, too. Support the people that support 16-inch softball. They're the reason why we can do the things we do to bring you these tournaments and league games and live streams and everything else we do for the game. So help them out and make sure when you can, if you need their services, that you at least give them an opportunity to win your business. So again, we're talking about a 1-0 game. If you're Rob Grisano, you don't want to put anybody on. This is a pinch hitter here. And he slaps it right at Rusty, and he throws it over, pitch and catch, first out of the inning. And it looks like another pinch hitter for Rack City. Rack City will do this late in the game. They usually come with a lot of bodies, and they will use a lot of pinch hitters. They're not on my lineup card. So and there's a little ground ball to Piscitelli, long throw over the top, and Scarletto can't handle that one as it bounced in. Looked like Pish was going to charge that ball, and he got an in-between hop, tried to play it off his back foot, and ended up spiking the throw. And now here's trouble with Little B and T-Rex on deck. So 1 out, 1 on here. And I think the concern is Rack City has a coach in a wheelchair. And, you know, generally we don't want a lot of players on the field, but we know somebody in a wheelchair might have a problem getting out of the way. So, and again, we don't want anybody getting hurt either. So the umpire just said if he could please get in, and he's working his way to a good spot in the dugout. Little B slashes it to Minizzi. They'll get one, and that's a smart play by the short center. You're just not going to double off Little B on a ball like that. Nothing good can come by trying to turn that double play. So here's T-Rex, 2 outs. This kid has got a ton of power. And again, it doesn't even have to get in the gap. Little B going to be flying on the swing. And he slaps it. This time Grisano makes the play. So here we go. Do or die, top of the 7th for the defending major national champion Signature Transportation Group. 1-0 ball game. I've watched a lot of softball, so I've seen crazy things, but Signature getting potentially shut out is just something you just don't see. And that's a testament to some terrific defense on the part of Rack City. And again, they had to retool it on the fly. They lost several players. And Kelly and Charlie doing a very good job. This is going to be a good softball team this year. So not sure who won the consolation game. It is over. And Signature had a little powwow. It's going to be Rusty, Matt, and Kevin. They need a run to tie the game and force the bottom of the 7th. And this game is clipped along, folks. And Rusty swings, and Little B's going to eat that up for the first out. So Rack City, 2 outs away from winning this 2021 SSA Kickoff Classic, sponsored by Guaranteed Rate Affinity and Matt Dozen. So here's Matt Minizzi now. If you're Signature, you need a base runner. And Matt swings, back shoulder drop. That's a tough play. And Jake makes a running over the shoulder catch for the second out. I think little Dave would have got there, but Jake was on a mission to get out there, and little Dave thought a little better of it than to try to call him off. And here's Kevin Barzowski now. Signature down to their last out. About to get shut out, which we just, like I say, we don't see it. Again, Rack City been impeccable on defense. And, you know, this early in the year, to see the way both of these teams are playing defense, we don't see it this early. And there's a ground ball to Rogers on the run. And he makes the play. Rack City wins the 2021 SSA Kickoff Classic, sponsored by Guaranteed Rate Affinity and Matt Dozen. So that was a tremendous performance by Rack City. And we'll see if we can't grab Charlie Talbert and get a few words with him. So really a nice job by Rack City. Charlie, come over here for a second, bud. Hey, I got to tell you, you guys lost some players. You guys were retooling it. You told me over the winter you thought you were going to be a fun and an interesting team to watch, man.
Hey, Gio, it's always the system, man. If guys play the game the right way, it don't matter who you got. Just play the game the right way, man, and the right things will happen.
Well, your defense was ridiculous in this ball game. And I was saying, I don't know if I've ever seen Signature, Windy City, and whatever else they called themselves through the years ever get shut out.
Man, you know what? I didn't realize what the score was. And, yeah, I just know it was a great defensive performance from the guys. Like, yeah, one of the best.
Yeah, well, you guys will be playing late on Sundays, I got a feeling.
I hope so. They deserve it, though, man. They come in, they got the right attitude, and I can ask for nothing more, man.
Can you get your guys at home plate so we can take a picture?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. Charlie Talbert, along with Kelly Patton, doing a great job of keeping this Rack City team looking like they're going to be one of the better teams. So we're going to click off, folks. We'll try to get a picture up there a little bit later. Just a tremendous defensive performance. And for those of you that thought that 16-inch softball was just about mangling the ball, well, I guess that'll show you it's not always about 16-inch. So we're going to click off. We're going to take some pictures. Again, your 2021 SSA Kickoff Classic champions, Rack City, in a 1-0 stunner over Signature. Not a stunner in that they won, but that it was 1-0. So, folks, we'll be posting pictures later. So this is Gio for now signing.